Hello and welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason and this is a Siku V296 Ford GT40. These were produced between 1969 and 1974. The distinctive opening roofed doors are an excellent standout feature of this model. However, I'm not all that convinced by the accuracy of the rest of the casting. I think it is too long and narrow, and the front, especially the lights, are all sorts of wrong. Here's the GT40 in better shape, and of course this is the real deal. I'll restore this one in a similar powder blue shared by the Siku model and the Golf liveried racer. The axles are bent on this example and need urgent attention. The front and rear end have their own plastic suspension clip. The red-orange interior houses the seats and the engine. This base secures the lower part of the roofed doors. These are by far the best feature of the casting. Once each of those has been released, I can access the semicircular steering wheel. I'm not really sure why this was done, as the real GT40 had a regular round steering wheel. But last out of the shell is the window piece, which is looking a bit scratched. Overall, I think that the Matchbox 41C is a far better representation of the GT40. That came out in 1966 and even came with a superior cast engine visible through the rear window. I restored two of those back in September 2019, where I also told the GT40 story. I highly recommend giving that a watch after this if you haven't done so previously. I shan't repeat myself giving a complete background of Henry Ford II's Ferrari Beta. The story itself is entertainingly told in the movie Ford v Ferrari from a couple of years back. With the patchy powder blue paint dissolved, I polish it up with my wire brush attachment that should help remove any leftover flakes. It also helps prepare the body for primer shortly, and identifies any areas that require attention, such as filling and sanding. After I've used the bigger wire brush to cover the larger, flatter surfaces, I use a narrow brush to fit into all of the hard to reach places and curved areas. I'll also use this on the doors. Once I'm satisfied that all the visible parts of the casting have been polished, I can lay on Tamiya Fine Surface Primer Light Grey. Here I'll be able to identify any further potential areas for improvement, such as scratches, dents or other blemishes that need remedying. I have to be a bit creative with my surgical tools to fit both doors onto the same set. I use CITADEL NULN oil gloss on the black plastic wheels to restore their shine, before I begin colour application to the primed cast parts. Not that you can see it all that well here, but this is Tamiya PS32 Corsa Grey, which I first used on my Ford Anglia restorations and custom Harry Potter movie car. This I think will be a good match to the Golf livery powder blue for the GT40, without perhaps the same blue hue that the casting originally came with. You can see for yourself how that compares at the end of the video. The axle ends receive the tiniest touch of chrome before I begin polishing the cloudy windscreen. This AUTOSOL metal polish should help smooth off the surface from any rough patches it may have. Then I turn to using it for its intended purpose, polishing up metal parts. It works wonders at removing years worth of grime build-up from plated metal bases, in conjunction with a dirty and clean buffing pad attachment for my rotary tool. The polished window piece exchanges AUTOSOL for Astonish here, which will give the plastic a glass-like effect. Since the PS32 is a polycarbonate, it gets a coat of TS13 clear to protect the casting. Not satisfied with just AUTOSOL and Astonish polishing, I also opt to dunk the window piece in HUMBROL clear gloss varnish. It was probably overkill on this, but I love the glossy look when it comes out of the solution. The last fiddly job to do before full reassembly is attempting to get the axles back under the suspension clips. They are very resilient. So with those in place, here are all of the parts that make up the GT40. In first goes the window piece. I then correct myself and fit each of the roof doors. This is another awkward and fiddly job, trying to balance both while having to fit the steering wheel followed by the interior and engine piece. But once that has gone in, the doors are now secure. After a firm press down to check all is in place, I refit the base and attach two 3mm M2 screws to complete the build. So here's how my Siku V296 Ford GT40 looked earlier. It had some seriously wonky axles, a dull, cloudy windscreen, and no surface that had gone unscratched. To me, it's a rather awkward, out of proportion casting that is redeemed only by its brilliant opening doors. Like I said before, Lesney's earlier GT40 entry was a much better effort and a far better replica. But here's how this one now looks. The coarser grey works well as a powder blue substitute in my opinion. One thing I should have done but completely disregarded is to level off that left side door roof, which is sitting a bit low. But things I did fix include the axles, which are now straight and true, improved the cloudy window piece so you can now see the plastic engine, and I polished the base, so the totally incorrect in terms of realism headlights now really stand out. Plus the interior was washed and the wheels revitalised with gloss. So, not my favourite casting, but I cannot resist a vintage Siku, no matter how inaccurate. If you enjoyed this build, do leave a like, drop a comment, and please do subscribe. Thanks to all my supporters on Patreon for your contributions. Links to join them are at the end of the video. But all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.